Shazam. Hey, so I am here with me and my shadow. This is Evan, and here they are. Introduce yourself if you'd be so kind, sir.
Hey, this is Randy. Play guitar and sing and do, probably about half the programming duties for me and my shadow. There's one other individual, Andy. So it is Randy and Andy, but Andy is not here this evening, so it's just Randy. I'm kind of the mouthpiece, so it's probably, yeah, I'm the talker of the two. So,
All right, cool. Well, how long you been in the music scene, Randy?
uh, I guess I've been playing and making records seriously since about like 98 or 99. Um, and it's, for the most part, it's always been rock and roll. Like, I'd say like just hard rock, technical hard rock. Like in the 90s, we wished we were Tool, when we were all kids in high school. And
Right.
um, yeah, and
Everybody wants to be Maynard.
what's that?
Everybody wants to be Maynard.
Yeah, everybody wants to be Maynard for sure. Anymore. I did a video about it last week. They've just kind of lost their allure a little bit, but maybe I'm just getting old. But yeah, I mean, played rock music for a really long time. Always wanted to do something a little more electronic. Was always into um, I guess stuff from the '80s like Depeche Mode. Uh, Nothing's coming to mind here. Depeche Mode, probably. Um, I don't know if that was you or me, but
That
Tool, Depeche
was
Mode. Go
that
ahead.
that
That was
was on your end.
okay. Right on. Yeah, but got really into like bands like Strapping Young Lad, kind of in the 2000s, and um, just really wanted to do something a little more along the lines of that with more electronic stuff, more synth stuff, but it's still got a very heavy rock or metal kind of thing going on
Well, why
with
don't
it.
you've provided me with two albums worth of songs here? So why don't you name off one of your favorites, and I'll put it to play in the background so that the people
Okay.
can check it out.
Uh, Probably I would have to say, off of our new one. I keep that's my phone. I'm gonna shut my phone off just in case. Uh, Off our new one, there's one called "As Above, So Below."
All right.
That would probably be my favorite.
Well, then I'll put that on a nice low burn here, and
Right on.
that'll be playing in the background for people to appreciate. And that one's
Cool.
got kind of an electronical kind of vibe,
It
little
does.
synthy.
It does.
That's not an effect from the song.
There'd probably be some intellectual property issues with that.
Yeah, I don't imagine we'll get a copyright strike on that one though, so it should be okay.
Probably not. You did have some issues with that, didn't you?
Yeah, I've actually had the last one finally resolved, and as a matter of fact, on the 22nd is my last day of exile. I should be able to get my AdSense back on the 23rd. All goes well.
Oh, I see what's happening. Oh my gosh, man! I've got this old one
Yeah.
that I it's like stuck in a constant cycle of trying to restart, and it's like it was like buried below some stuff, so I apologize for that. Sorry,
uh, no worries.
okay. Anyway, that was starting to bug me. I'm like, I shut my phone off. What the heck?
So yeah, what I was noticing with your music, you've got kind of like like maybe a filter kind of vibe, maybe a KMFDM, something in
Yeah,
that
the fun.
that late '90s, 2000s kind of industrial rock kind of sound.
Yeah, and maybe that's just part of the fact that that's when those were my formative years, I guess. And after the late 90s, early 2000s, like as far as like you know popular rock music, I really didn't like anything that was coming out. It just seemed like in the 90s, you know, the stuff that was mainstream was really good, you know, and
That's
then it
true.
kind
There
of
was a lot of really excellent stuff that came out around that
yeah.
time.
And then after that, it just got like completely like faux angsty, you know, whiny,
Pop punk.
and well, yeah, man, or even like, you know, just like the mainstream rock, like it was just so like, I'm depressed, yada yada, I'm depressed, I've got mental issues, blah 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 blah, you know. I got tired of hearing it, man, and
Yeah,
just
I know.
started, yeah, got into other things, and maybe it's just the remnants from those years that I thought were, you know, totally awesome, just sticking around in our music, I guess. But yeah, I appreciate that. There's uh and you remember that record Filter put out in like 99 that had or it would have been 99. It had like, you know, you want to take my picture, that one, but it had a really heavy one called Welcome to the Fold. You remember that track?
Oh, no shit. I actually used to do a set. I've got that on vinyl.
Is
I
that
used to
not?
do a set with that, like into some hardcore and gabber stuff.
Yeah. So that track, man, like when we heard that track, I like we were right out of high school, and that track came out, and I just remember the dun 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 dun. You know, it just, I mean, just thinking about it, you know, it makes the hair on your arms stand up. You know, it's just so good, man. And
No,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
oh,
No, that is classic stuff.
it really is, man. It really is. And I mean, even, you know, that it seemed like there was several years after their one record they put out that like had "Hey Man, Nice Shot" on it. I don't know if they had like a lapse in, you know, if they were like doing other things during that time, but yeah, when they came out with that record, you're just like, whoa, this is awesome.
It really
Um,
was. That that album was really emblematic of the time period in which it was released. There was a lot of really good stuff then.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, you put it in, and you definitely it gives you that feeling of nostalgia, you know. And yeah,
Yeah,
I'd say another, probably another record that is huge for me would be Anima by Tool. I think you pronounce it Anima. It's the one with you know, Stinkfist,
oh
and
yeah.
I mean, they've just never topped that one for me personally. Like, uh, had some good records since then, but yeah, that was huge for me. Um, yeah, another guy compared us to this really cool like indie music blog that did a review of our new record, compared us to Gravity Kills, which
I
I
can see
forgot.
that. I can see
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
I forgot all about those guys too, man. So yeah, you know, it's cool. Yeah, it's just cool getting compared to some of those bands, man. It makes you feel like you're doing something right. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. And that's really a good thing because as much as, you know, the popular zeitgeist in music might be something you want to aim for, you still got to keep your own, well, you got to keep your own soul, you know. Nothing
Yeah,
like if you're wanting to make some synthy music, make some synthy music, but you know, don't lose your shit. There's like a French word for it that I can't remember right now.
yeah.
Oh well, whatever.
I hear you. I hear you. Is it one of those French words that gets used in English a lot?
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like the one that always comes to mind is je ne sais quoi, but it's not that.
Yeah,
It's never
that's certain
that.
something, right? Is that what je ne sais quoi is? That certain, isn't, doesn't that mean like that certain something? I
Yeah,
think. Okay.
basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's great, man. That's great. Uh, you know, and I would say this, like, I feel like in the 90s, you know, when grunge came out after like the huge butt rock thing in the 80s, you know, like, which we're basically back to. I mean, or maybe we're coming out of it. I don't know. But um,
In its way.
yeah, yeah. I feel like in the 90s, you know, all these killer bands came out, and everybody was sold this thing of like, you know, like just, I don't know how to put it. Like, be a nonconformist, but it's like everybody be a nonconformist together in the same way. You know what I mean? Like
Well, it
with the
started out that way, and then much like how hippies got co-opted by commerce, that's
yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember like Nirvana is the reason I started Nirvana and Black Sabbath by the way of Beavis and Butthead is the reason I started playing guitar. And I remember I was 12,
yeah.
and I remember like not 1 year later, my little sister had like some sort of like friggin' teen fashion magazine, something like that. And I remember seeing this like advertisement for a brand of clothes, and it had this female model on there, and it was like "Get Grunged," and she had like Doc Martens on and like flannel, and it was like, oh my god!
Uh,
Like even as a little kid, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, there's something wrong with this.
well, that's
And
that's what happens. I mean, and you watch it happen. It'll happen with synthwave too, and that's
oh
just
yeah,
the
I'm
way
sure.
things are.
Yeah. So um like synthwave, like how I guess I would say like it's it definitely reminds me a lot obviously of like some 80s stuff like from when we were kids, but like how long has this like resurgence been happening, I guess, or you know what I mean, like,
The resurgence
or I
since
don't know, like
since
since what?
Drive, Jonathan
Drive.
Gosling,
Not
the
familiar,
movie,
so you're talking to a total noob.
like 2013 is when that movie
Okay.
hit, and that
Oh
movie had a lot of just a great soundtrack, really retro. It was mostly done by College and Electric Youth, which two really good synthwave acts you should check out. By the way,
okay. Yeah, I mean,
I'm sure you've heard "Hero," even if you don't know the song offhand.
yeah, yeah. Check it out. Check it
Yeah,
out. It's
or
definitely talking to like you and talking to that what's I don't know how you pronounce the name of their band, is like Hammerzia or Hammerzia or
I figured it was Hemerzia.
Hammerzia. Yeah, that seems more like just like it would be correct, but talking with them and kind of checking out some of the bands you play, it's been cool, man. It's
Yeah,
because
and there's some pretty heavy stuff in there too. It's a really broad genre. I mean, it's like I say synthwave in the way that people used to say techno.
oh
Because
sure.
there's Outrun and there's freaking all kinds of everything else too. That's the first one that comes to mind. And I play a lot
Mhm.
of dark wave stuff, and dark wave is like the industrial rock or like Wump Scud or even Skinny Puppy, really.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Also,
And
I've only got 140 characters, so you know.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, I had never even heard the term dark wave like until Andy, the other guy in the band, we were doing when we first started putting together our first record, Mechanism. There's a track on there. It's the first track on the record. It's called Bloodwork, and I just made it like I don't know what I'm doing. Like I'm not.
Speaking of, we'll just play
Yeah,
that at a lower volume
blast.
in the background, y'all.
It's got a bass line, like a growly synth bass line that's just and it was
Yeah.
just something I stumbled on while I was kind of tweaking knobs, and Andy's all like, dude, that is like Dead Z, and I was like, Dead Z, never even heard of Dead Z, and I don't know how I missed them. um but I checked out their records, and someone called them dark wave, but I don't like, compared to some of the other things I've heard that have been called that, doesn't really sound 100%. I mean, it doesn't have to, of course, but
You
what a
can
cool
you can kind of tell it by a thing's going to be dark wave if it's heavily electronic.
band. Yeah,
And I mean, this is all just, I guess, subjective from a guy who's been DJing for too long and not getting paid enough for it. But
yeah,
you know how it is. You know how it is.
yeah, yeah.
Struggling musicians.
It's a labor of love, man.
It
Like,
is. It is. but you know, you keep doing it, and it if nothing else, you know, you get the enjoyment of, you know, putting something out there that people enjoy.
And I think that's you're saying exactly where I would have probably ended up going, although like in a very bunny trail kind of way. But like I feel like all growing up, um, as we were making music, it was like do it for yourself. Um, you know, screw what anyone thinks. Blah 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 blah. And I feel like that's way this way, whereas you know the other way would just be totally just lose your soul and just do whatever people are going to buy, or you know whatever people are liking and just conform to that 100%. But like I feel like where we are, I can make country music if I wanted to, and I could still make it and have a piece of me be in it, and I still want to make something that I know people are going to enjoy, because to me, if I don't know people are enjoying it, it's just not worth it to me anymore. You know what I mean? But I can't stop. I can't stop making music. Like I don't expect to net 1 red cent from it, but if I can't, I just wouldn't be able to stop. If I stopped and sold all my gear and was like, screw this, I'm done, like 2 months down the road, it would be killing me, man. It's something I'm gonna do till I die. So
Yeah, and there is something to be said for sticking to it. You know, when you're invested, it shows through in your final product, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you? I thought I read, read you say or mention in a video or something that you do some of your own original stuff too.
I do art really more than anything else. I haven't tried to produce music in an age or three. I mean, I can do some stuff maybe with Reason, maybe Cubase, but that's about the extent of it for this black kitty cat.
Gotcha. Right on.
I mean, I'm not much of a producer. I'm a halfway decent mixologist, I guess. I mean, there's a way to hook up a set of decks to my mixing program, and maybe one of these days I'll get that done. But that's going to require more cleaning, more arranging, and
oh yeah.
although my office would look really cool if I had my decks in back of it, but then you know, I don't know where I'd put my shelving.
Right along. Yeah, just keep the assault rifle there. Or no, I don't even know if that's an assault rifle. I'm not a gun guy. I like guns.
No, it's not. It is a modern sporting rifle. You see, assault rifles have a select fire feature. Okay. Mine is only semi-auto.
Okay. I mean, I have lots of friends who have lots of guns, and I mean, I know, like, you know, like, and I think guns are a lot of fun, man. But
they are.
Oh man, I like shooting guns is freaking awesome, man. But you know, guitars are too expensive.
Well, yeah, same kind of deal. You know, I haven't been able to pick up a new one for a while.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to pick up a new video game in a while, but that's okay. I have a really huge backlog, so it's okay. And Steam. I do occasionally get the bundles that come through because I can get those for cheap, and it can get me a new-ish game.
Yeah, sure.
Bundles are awesome.
Yeah, you know, and Steam is so cool, man. Like, you know, I played games all growing up and stuff, and those are the kinds of, you know, interests. I mean, that's another thing. Like with us as a band, like right off the bat, we were just making music that came natural, and we got a lot of feedback that it was like, you should, you know, your music could be good for video games and like sci-fi action movies. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm just going to try to find those people. And that's how I found out about, you know, like, that's how I stumbled on Gamergate and just watched that whole thing. And yeah, fascinating. And you know, I hadn't played a lot of games myself, Recently, like I had like emulators, and like I go through periods of my life where I'll like play through Double Dragon every day.
Oh, I had on Double Dragon. There's a bundle somewhere. I think it's not Groupies. Indie Gala's got a bundle right now with Double Dragon Neon and the new A Boy and His Blob.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're both awesome.
Yeah,
they're gonna try and
Neon.
scrounge up a couple bucks and throw it on a throwaway card and grab them.
Yeah, Neon, man. It had that like there's a song by is it it's Mango Tango. You know
Really,
what song I'm talking about?
I
It's
don't.
I can't
Offhand.
remember what it's called, dude, but it's like addictive, man, and it's totally 80s. Like it is so 80s. It's super cool. You should check it out. But oh yeah, go through periods where I just play Double Dragon or Contra. Just play it through every day, kind of way to wind down after you get off work or something.
Neon
And
Jungle.
Neon Jungle.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds about right. Yeah, good stuff. Good
Nice.
track. But yeah, man, I just picked up like somebody had a PS3 they sold me. It was my brother-in-law sold me a PS3 that he got like it was like dirt cheap. So I went and bought a bunch of stuff and kind of went through a phase where I was playing a bunch of things. But yeah, good times.
Classic games are great.
Yeah.
And I like that there's this resurgence of classic games in modern media. Like you look at something like Hotline Miami. I mean, that
Yeah.
plays like the very first GTA. I mean, it's a lot harder and heavier, a lot
Oh my
more
god,
fast
dude! When I
action.
watch you play that, I'm just like, this looks brutal. Like it looks so frustrating, man.
It's
Like,
crazy intense. It really
yeah,
is.
yeah. I watched just some of the playthroughs, man. That looks super cool. Like just aesthetic to it, though. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
just, I mean, so cool. Like the filters, it and I think I said this on like I think I commented on this. It reminded me of watching Kung Fury. Like they made it almost looks like you're watching like an old crappy VHS tape or something.
yeah, kind
Yeah,
of. No, it has some really great effects, and
absolutely.
I guess it would be a filter that they use. I'm not sure what you'd call it, but
Yeah.
it makes a world of difference in the experience. I mean, it takes something that's well, you couldn't have that in a game of the era because
No,
you just couldn't have that fidelity of music and audio, and
right.
that's really what kind of ties it together. You've got the that retro aesthetic, but then you throw on top of it a really slick
Mm-hmm.
modern set of effects, like
Yeah.
with your screen flashes, your not lens flares per se, but that kind of thing,
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. It's very
and a sexy as hell soundtrack.
yeah.
Like
I'll have
that
to
soundtrack is great.
you know that that that's another thing, man. Like the music that was in the games that we had growing up was just so freaking good, man. Like
Absolutely.
in the NES games, man. Oh my
Mega
gosh,
Man.
like
Mega Man is
Mega
rock and roll. It is some
Man,
real deal rock and roll.
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Like I remember, I guess back maybe like probably around the 2000s when I got an emulator and started playing some of those old games or whatever. Um, I the actual ones I had were all boxed up somewhere or whatever, and so I was playing them, and I just brought me back. It's like, man, this music had a huge influence on me. Mega Man, Contra, um,
Absolutely.
oh geez, man. The Konami games I really liked.
Capcom was pretty good too.
Yeah, Capcom did have some amazing music. And then even, into like the Super Nintendo era, you remember Super Metroid?
Oh yeah, and the Castlevania games also really good
Yeah.
for music.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just so like it's so good. And yeah, and then some of those bands that came out and started doing like band versions of it, like, early 2000s. You had like the Mini Bosses. Did you ever hear those guys?
I was going to mention them specifically, as a matter of
Yeah,
fact. Yeah. Yeah,
super
those guys are
cool.
great. They
Yeah,
they could turn anything into rock and roll. And
yeah,
then that's fed into like these groups that are making use of the old instruments, or
yes,
to throw it back onto the old like the old school artists. Trent Reznor was using old Ataris and Nintendos for a while in his shows
really.
when he was touring. Yeah.
I didn't know that, man. That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, definitely the chip tunes thing got huge for sure. I mean, I have some friends here in Kansas City in a band called the Fluorescent. You'd probably like them quite a bit. They do like chip tunes type stuff. I mean, I remember like a few years ago, like first time I saw them, they're up on stage and they're like playing a Game Boy. It's cool.
Nice, nice.
There's another one from Lawrence, which is where KU is. Lawrence is kind of like a artsy little oasis in Kansas, but there's a band from there called Beowulf, but it's spelled like Scott Baio. It's like it, it's Scott Baio and Scott Wolf, and those dudes were making music with a Game Boy and Mario Paint, like in like 2003 or 2004. You know what I mean? So
Oh, I
they
love
could,
it. I love it.
yeah, they're super cool, man. Definitely two bands worth checking out.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
If you've got any connections with them, man, send them my way. I'd be more than happy to give them
I
some
will. I
airtime
can
on
definitely.
both the radio
Yeah,
and throw them an interview here. Hell.
absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. Do it with the Fluorescent, man. Um, Beowulf, man. I don't know what those guys are up to, but they're out there. Send them a message.
Oh, since we were on the topic of Gamergate and some stuff like literally came out today. What was it? What's this dated? 1:18 p.m.
Uh-huh.
The case between Aaron Gajoni,
Or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, Aaron, whatever it is,
whatever.
and
Yeah.
Chelsea Von V, that it went up to the Supreme Court, but it was dismissed as a moot point because she dropped the charges. And of course, she dropped the charges because, well, it would have set a really nasty precedent for her and people of her ilk,
Okay.
serial abusers and harassers.
So that's the thing about that whole deal. And while we're at it, if people decide to come for me and get me in trouble with where I work, I'm speak for myself and not the other guy in my band. But anyway, no,
Yeah.
I'm tongue in cheek there. But no, no. Who's this? Who's this Chelsea person? I haven't heard of her before.
Zoe.
So many pieces.
She,
Oh.
yeah, her
Okay.
name's actually Chelsea.
What?
That her name's actually
No.
Chelsea. That she just had, that's like her stage name when she was.
Oh, okay. So when you go to court and they have to use your like legal name, I
Yeah,
get it. Okay, gotcha.
yeah. Aaron is
And
actually Aaron. Zoe is actually Chelsea.
so okay, yeah. So you're saying it got basically did it just get thrown out of court or?
Well, when she dropped the charges, well, she
Mhm.
asked for the charges to be withdrawn, and he wanted to press it the whole way so that they could go ahead and get a precedent set on this because it's a blatant abuse of power and a way
Yeah,
to take away somebody's First Amendment rights.
yeah. It's. I think that's. I wasn't an active person, but I definitely sympathize with being able to say what you want, yeah, or what you know what I mean, and I just feel like it's just crazy, just getting
It
out of
is.
control.
Oh, things
It
are seeing their loony toony.
Oh man, yeah, and I think there's times when I just look and see some of the things that are some of the like things like like they went in front of the UN. I'm like
Yeah,
I'm like I've been in places on this earth where there I mean you would not believe some of the things that happen in like I've been to Sudan, southern Sudan quite a bit, and some of the way women are treated there is absolutely I mean, it's awful, and
No,
I mean, I
it's
don't want.
horrifying the things that happen around the world
Yeah,
that basically just that's not a problem because it's not happening here, and
yeah,
that's insane
yeah.
because there
It's
are
ridiculous.
horrible things. What was it? The stoning of oh, I can't remember. Like they made a movie about this big documentary recently.
Oh,
I
it
ca-
does. I mean, shoot, dude, it happens all the time. I mean, and I hate to say it, man. It just no one. It's like I don't think people honestly care. I mean, it's
well, the
easy to not.
ones that
Yeah,
do and try at least in
yeah,
their own way, and the ones that say they do signal that they try, but
yeah,
they don't do
yeah.
anything of any real note. Oh,
Sure.
but let me finish this out real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
The dissolution of the order here. What was it? The appellate court basically stated that Gajoni has obtained all the relief to which he could be entitled, and he no longer has a cognizable interest in whether the order was lawfully issued, which is unfortunate. But what came down from the end of that is that the Supreme Court was very specific in stating that one needs to consider the First Amendment when making such a consideration in the future. So even though they didn't decide on it, they did weigh in opinion wise
Yeah,
with a strong and reasonable opinion. Thank
yeah,
Christ.
yeah. That whole thing, man, really. It sucks because it really got in the way of like I think what the real issue was, which was all the corruption that was going on, with the different sites and
Media.
magazines or whatever that were reporting on it. But
Well, media.
yeah,
That's just the
yeah, the
thing.
media, yeah,
That was just a how shall we say? Gamergate exposed a chink in the armor of the media machine,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
which is built around this whole thing. I don't know if you're familiar with Social Autopsy or what's been happening with them in the past month or
I've
two.
like I saw some chatter about it, but it's so hard to figure out what's going on.
The exact same thing.
Oh, okay.
They have been, they figured something out and they came out about it. And when they
Mm.
came out about it, well, uh, the uh, the machine rumbled into action and went on the attack, just
Yeah.
like it did in the case of the individuals there. Adam Baldwin and all.
Oh, yeah.
It's too many people
Yeah.
to name. I mean, because it's.
Yeah.
Oh right, sorry, no, the three sock puppets and their owners, or whatever, such bullshit.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
then, have you seen all this crap with Ghostbusters? And like the one guy, angry video game nerd guy or whatever, Cinemassacre guy, something like that,
Mhm. Yeah,
released
Jake.
a he didn't release a review. It's like, listen, I'm not gonna go see the movie because I don't care. I really like the one from when I was a child, and this seems like a travesty, and I don't want to see it. So
Oh, and so they're saying that it's just because of
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, he's just a big evil misogynist, and
Yeah.
then they got hit with he got hit with like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, and the articles keep coming, and it's like they're all drawn from the same word template,
Yeah.
and they all mention the same points, which this all ties back into the original journo list that was providing favorable coverage to like the Clintons and their foundations and shit. So
Hmm.
it's whew.
Yeah. I had more, like, gosh, dang, man, that's a lot of moving pieces, and
It is.
I'm,
It is a
it's
damn
like
Swiss watch.
trying to watch and keep up on that whole thing was just, that was just, that would have been a full time job. I mean, but yeah, it just fascinated me, like, and I think it also like I read about lots of things, and I think the fact that I just was watching the whole thing and unfold in front of my eyes, um, it was so interesting at the time, back in, I guess, August of 2014 now or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it was fascinating. It was fascinating. Is it still like, I mean, I know people still use the hashtag or whatever, but I mean, is it still like tens of thousands a day like uses, or is it mellowed
Uh,
out quite a bit? Or
there's things have grown significantly more complicated than they were in the early days due to third parties.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Gotcha.
I try and stay out of all of that drama because it gets ugly. There are people there who do really ugly things, like the kind of shit that you hear about being said is the kind of shit that Zoe was talking about happening to her is like the kind of shit these people actually legitimately do, as opposed
Yeah,
to
that's
hyperbolically.
right. No, that's completely uncool. Like, I mean, if any of those, I mean, you know, if any of them had like that's just crazy, like death threats, and I remember like all the swatting and stuff that was going on. That's out of control, man. And what bothers me is like it's probably just like little kids doing it. You know what I mean? That's like what I think. I think it's
Well,
like I don't know.
actually, the thing about that is that's why I mentioned the social autopsy.
Yeah.
And a lot, well, we will see how this plays out in time. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of what's come up from that is that a lot of these trolls and harassers might be tied directly back into people like Chelsea, Zoe, what have you. Um,
Oh,
the other literal who's, if you will.
yeah, yeah. The I remember that
Wu,
nomenclature.
Sarkeesian,
Yeah, yeah.
all those.
I, I,
And
I
if,
want them to be able to, like I mean, they should be able to say what they want to say, and everybody should be able to say what they want to say without being shut down. You know what I mean?
well,
Um,
the thing is, that's basic. From day one, that's how it was.
yeah,
And then these individuals, they're saying that, well, we're being shut down, and it's entirely not the case. At
yeah,
worst, they were being presented with their arguments being incorrect. Like, listen, here's where you're wrong, here's where you're wrong, here's where you're wrong.
hmm
And people blow up, and then it's like, okay,
hmm
people blow up back at them, and you end up with, your classic internet kind of flame war situation.
yeah. That's what we used to call it back in the day, man. Flame war. I
But,
guess.
these idiots can't handle the bants, as it were, and take things seriously and go off the deep end because one wants to think that they're just crazy, but it's hard to assign craziness to something so pointed
Mm.
and persistent. No, not persistent. They have an agenda, it
Yeah,
seems.
I, I think it's. I always want to believe the best about people, and I just want to think it's they're extremely passionate about the things they care about, but you just can never know, people's motives, man. You just
Well,
impossible. I
that's
don't
a
know.
that's a safe way to feel about useful
Yeah,
idiots. But the thing about it is, the people at the top generally don't have such altruistic motives. They're
yeah, sure.
usually they're out for something, and they're going to use the people that are available to them in whatever fashion that they can
Yeah,
to accomplish the ends that they desire.
and
And this,
that's how they're at the top, I guess.
yeah,
So they made it there somehow. Yeah, yeah, crazy, man.
yeah, ugly stuff, ugly stuff.
Very.
So back onto things that aren't quite so ugly.
Yeah,
Let's get back to say music. So you
yeah.
working on any cool new stuff?
We are, man. In fact, like we put out our EP Binary Suns on Bandcamp. there was one track on there that, long story short, there was a chance that it could be viewed as like a possible derivative work. Just the hook in one of the songs, like the lyrics could be seen as like a, not even really a parody, but like a couple people heard it, and it kind of harkened back to this way old song that wasn't even, it's like was a theme from a TV show.
Oh, so it's not dun 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 dun. It's dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Well, we had discs pressed, and me and my OCD kind of started second guessing it, and kind of got some other opinions, and it was like, maybe we should get this straightened out. So we released it to Bandcamp without that particular song, and we've been waiting. We just want to do the right thing, so we were waiting on the publishing company for this song, and they're just, it's like, we haven't heard a thing. And so we just decided to finally go forward with like the full online digital release minus the one song. And if and when we hear back about, whether or not it's an issue or we need to pay like some kind of license or something, we might just like pay the license and then just put that song out as a single or something, which sucks because it was a really cool song. But yeah, man. So it's done. It'll be out on June the 6th, which is Monday, June 6th. And that's going to be on, like on all the digital outlets. But right now it's just out on Bandcamp. So,
right. Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's, we really like want to get into doing like sound. We want to do stuff for like people's YouTube channels, like, streaming YouTube channels. Like, we're trying to find people who are doing like sci-fi film projects and things like that. And, just saying, hey, we do music. And it's, people get hit with that all the time. There's so many people out there doing music, but, we just kind of put the feelers out there, say, hey, we'd love to do just a theme track for you. Like, we don't even want money.
Yeah. On that note, I've got something I'm trying to throw together with you guys right now.
Heck yeah, dude. That was so much fun. that was a lot of fun, dude. And that was, be
on the lookout. Right, it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. I can't wait, man. I don't know how much you want to say or whatever, but
no, it's leave the mystery intact, because people are just they're not gonna know what to think when they see it.
Oh, it's gonna be freaking awesome, man.
It will. Awesome. I am full on excite.
Oh, good, sweet. Yeah, I was really happy that you were happy with that, because that was fun, easy too.
Oh, cool.
Nothing to it, but yeah, we just want to do more of that type of stuff, and there's so many people out there like doing streams now and do YouTube channels, obviously, like about games and different things like that. So it's really cool to just be able to do something, because it helps us get our name out there and get our music. We're just kind of done with going through like the traditional channels of trying to get your music out there.
Well, those even though they're making money hand over fist, what was it? I heard that Warner's chief income source this year, for the first time ever, is actually streaming.
Who is it?
Warner Entertainment, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Right? Like, of all places. Yeah. So it's just, the paradigm shifted. The internet changed everything, and really for the better. I mean, it's gotten a bunch of these idiots all into the same room, but hey, at least they're all in one room. We know where to build the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school for sound engineering, like at this really cool place I went to school at a really cool place for sound engineering, and like it was in 2003, and that right then you were seeing, like, you went from, like, they called it the Big 12 or something like that in the 90s, all the massive record labels, they had folded into like a third as many, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because they refused to like go with the new digital formats.
Yeah, adapt
And
or die, and they did not adapt.
no, they painted themselves in the corner. They were basically like, the way it was told to us at the time, was that, they were just like, no, you're going to continue to spend, $17-18 a CD and tough, and we'll sue your pants off if you don't. And given the option, people chose to download music, man. I mean, duh, so
Yeah, funny how that works.
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all, man. Not surprised at all. But yeah, it looks nothing like it used to. I mean, we kind of, I don't know, I get the feeling you're probably like pretty much the same age I am, but I mean, we kind of got in on that last part of when the music industry was the old way,
Yeah.
like get together, make some songs, get a decent sounding record, play a decent live show, and the people will come. And it's just not like that anymore at all, man.
No, not at all. Their live scenes aren't even really a thing so much in anywhere other than maybe your biggest cities.
Exactly. And
That's sad. That
it
really.
is sad. It is sad, man. It just has sucked the allure and the mystique and the intrigue out of everything, man. Like everything is just right in front of you, and yeah, it's just not the same anymore. But there's it, like you said, it's a blessing and a curse. It's got its advantages, and it's definitely it's also taken away some things that were really great about music and life in general. But whatever. What are you gonna do?
Oh yeah, it's like when you look behind the curtain, you don't always like what you see, but at least you can keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess like me, I was just like, screw all this like Facebook and social media and all this stuff, but finally just said, okay, fine, and man, on Twitter, dude, like some of the people I've met, like, and I mean, they've even like connected a few of them. They'll like tag both you and me in a post, like our band page in a post. I mean, some of those people are so cool, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, shoot, like I talk to people on Twitter about like stuff I'm interested in, and it's more engaging than like any conversation I have with most people, like, in my day to day. Like, so it's cool, man. Definitely.
Yeah, the people that you'll run into on Twitter it's pretty wild. I shit you not. Dar follows me just recently. You remember Beastmaster, the TV show?
Wait, Dar, the Beastmaster. That's like making something like fire in my brain, like
Chodo and
like,
Podo, the ferrets, dude.
Yes, the Beastmaster Dar.
Yeah.
Okay, was that the name of the show, Beastmaster?
Yeah, it was. It was the one that was on USA.
USA, man, USA. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. So that's cool, man. That's really cool.
And well, I don't know if I want to say better still, but on the same thing, Kelly LeBrock, I shit you not, follows me.
Weird Science.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, no shit. I have the craziest follower list in the damn world.
That's really cool, man. We got followed by Siri.
Really?
That's not but Dar, man, you remember like USA, man? Like, you remember like Up All Night? Did you watch that?
I remember both eras, both Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Godfrey.
Well, it seemed like one night it was Gilbert and the next night it was Rhonda. Or was that like...
No, it was like an era, but then they had replays. Like, it started out with, I think, Gilbert, and then it went to Rhonda Shear. Yeah. And then it just kind of...
Yeah. And then USA was where, like, USA and TNT were where you went to like watch all like the old school movies from the 70s and 80s. I mean, it had a certain like vibe to it, but then all of a sudden like USA started coming out with all those like killer shows, and next thing you know, like they're like the hottest thing. Like they had like Monk and Burn Notice and all this other stuff. Yeah. It's like, where did all this come from? But yeah, no, man, that's super cool. you're like, what's Kelly LeBrock up to these days? Is she like?
She races horses.
That's great.
Yeah. Not much. Like a little bit of animal activism and just trying to be a parent and a person in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, weird science like that. That's all I know, but that's good enough. You know, that
Yeah,
was
I
the
don't
movie.
I don't know if there's anything really of any other note that's been in her
Yeah,
career.
yeah, um, yeah. That's great. Cool, man. I was talking to somebody. Like we read 1984. Speaking of all this other stuff, we were talking about like, you know, uh, like I remember like I had a friend up here and we read 1984, you know, in high school or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, telescreens like Big Brother, you know, like the cliched thing, but it's like, man, this is the telescreen, you know,
Yeah, right. Well, no,
like
no, you've got the giant screen. Oh, wait, no, that's Fahrenheit 451. But yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, we've
I
got them
mean
both. We've got them both. We got all the stuff from 1984 and Fahrenheit 451.
Fahrenheit 451. See, I've not heard of that. What's that?
Really?
No, I've not heard of that.
That's a Ray Bradbury book, and it's powerful stuff. Uh,
Okay.
Basically, you've got not a 1984 world. What's happened is books are banned, all books,
Yikes.
and all books are banned because they run the danger of offending someone. I shit you not. And this was written
There you
back.
go.
Yeah. So it started out with, really offensive things like the Bible and things
Yeah.
like that. And then it moved on to just anything. Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn, anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, basically the only extant texts are like technical. Like you'd have a manual. That's the
Oh,
only
okay.
text that exists in the modern days of whenever the hell it was that took place in time.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that really brings that point across really well, if you aren't familiar, is Equilibrium.
I've heard of that, but I've not seen it.
It tells essentially the story of Fahrenheit 451. Really good
Okay.
movie.
But yeah, we're there. We are totally there, man. I mean, it.
But it's the story
I'm
of
not
firefighters.
okay.
And, well, houses are built in the future as basically entirely fireproof. So you send in the firefighters to fight things that need fighting with fire.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll burn art, they'll burn books that they might find. If a person was to have a library or a cache of books, it would be burned. They might be burned with it. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
horrifying, awful stuff.
Yeah.
And then the main character, he keeps a book and reads it. And, well, things go from there.
Yeah.
It doesn't end as badly as 1984. It has a much more hopeful ending.
Thank God, man. That 1984, man. And I thought the movie they did back then, you know the one I'm talking about, completely.
I think I've seen one.
Yeah, yeah. It's older, but we watched it in high school, man. And I was like, I'm actually kind of surprised they showed us that in high school and that they talked about it as much in high school, because I don't know if they would do that now.
Oh, they wouldn't dare.
No, I don't think
It
so,
would,
man.
point one, be too triggering, and point two,
Yeah.
it would be too, revealing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, here's another thing, man. And
Common Core would want nothing to do with teaching children about 1984.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
I mean, you're right though. We are there, man, because I mean, I don't want people to be offended, but gosh dang, man, like you're right. Like everything's getting shut down. because of the risk of that, and it's really scary.
It is. It's horrifying.
It's really scary. Yeah, yeah. I had a point, but it's gone. It disappeared. But yeah,
Ah, well. Fart in the breeze.
pretty much that's about what it would have amounted to. But yeah, I will check that out. I will check that out for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's definitely. Go ahead.
The movie Network, if you haven't seen it, is incredibly apt these days.
Network.
Mm-hmm. It came out in 1974.
When did? Oh, 74. Wow.
Yeah, and it is today.
Yeah. Even like, did you hear that like sales of like Atlas Shrugged? I mean, it's not exactly related, but like sales of the book Atlas Shrugged, kind of around the whole like maybe 2008, the recession and stuff. I heard like sales of that book just like went through the roof. You know what I mean?
Not surprised. Not
Yeah.
surprised at all. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you look at people; they're seeing that old systems aren't working, so they have to come up with something.
Yeah.
So they, in this case, it's like, well, maybe we need to embrace personal responsibility as a, well, I don't know. That's not exactly personal responsibility. That's like bigger and a little more complicated.
Sure.
But I
Sure.
mean, you get what I'm saying with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
You know, great speech on that is actually in the game Bioshock by Paul Ryan. Or
Paul Ryan.
I
Uh,
no, that's an actor, isn't it?
Paul Ryan's the Republican dude. The
Oh yeah, yeah, he's the asshole that took control of the house.
yeah.
Yeah, no, well, whatever. The guy is that built the Paradise Under the Sea or whatever.
Uh-huh.
He gives a
What
great
was
speech about it.
the movie you said? You said Fahrenheit 451, and then the one from 1974. What was that called?
Network.
Network.
Yeah.
Right on. I'm actually writing this down.
Oh yeah, they're both. The movie is great. I mean, it's just a really well put together movie. It's from an era when, well, they bothered to take risks in cinema.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nearly a documentary. It's you'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah. I'll check it out.
I mean, you've
Check.
probably heard some of the lines from it recently, like "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." Comes from that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's really funny. I think the first time I heard that. No, 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 no. UHF. You remember that movie?
Oh yes, Weird Al's my man.
These floors are dirty as hell. That's that had to have been playing off of that.
Hell, I've halfway modeled my YouTube channel off of the UHF network. Like I'm just gonna do whatever. Got 99 channels of me doing shit.
Yeah, that's great, man. I think it's great. Yeah, that's kind of what I've done with our band. I was like, screw it, man. I'm just gonna start putting stuff up. Like I said, last week, I was like, I need to just put something up, man. We paid for a little bit of promotion with this really cool service. I would encourage, by the way, I mean, I will plug this thing called Indie Music Plus. They were super cool in helping us like just get music, like I would encourage any band to look them up and have them do a review, and then they just give you shout outs on Twitter, and man, we've met a bunch of people, got a bunch of subscribers on YouTube and stuff like that. But uh and with that I completely lost track of where I was going. Oh yeah, yeah, I mean, with our band, I was like, oh, we got a bunch of subscribers here, I need to just put something up, and happened to be going through a box of CDs while I was doing some unpacking and found some old Tool CDs. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna riff on this for a second. And yeah, no, that's the way I like that, man. I like that kind of variety. You got the Let's Plays, you got the interviews and all that stuff. It's cool, man.
Well, if nothing else, if I don't have something one day, you can come back. I try to have content every day too. I mean, it's been a little hard lately. I actually worked 4 days last week, so that
Yeah.
tied up more of my time than I've been used to in a while. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I try and dedicate a bit to the channel. I'd like to grow that into something interesting. You know.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. It's it's tough, man. It's tough getting in front of people, getting their attention, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I have at least my Twitter followers as an inbuilt audience. I mean, even if not
Yes.
all of them will come along, at least a couple will.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah, for real. But yeah, good times, man. Good times.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
Oh yeah, my interviews generally run at least an hour, and actually we'll hit an hour here in like 30 seconds or so.
Yeah. I would say that like all of this stuff that's going on, with all this Orwellian stuff that's happening like in real life now.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
it definitely, like the whole, I mean, obviously we're not like in some post-apocalyptic dystopian like thing, yet. I mean,
No,
I'm not
no. It
not too
looks
big of,
like we've actually crossed the hump. I mean, we gotta keep moving because that hump's
yeah.
chasing us. But I
Yeah.
think we crossed it.
Yeah. You remember, like, I think it was 2013 when they were just, it seems like 2013 was crazy, man, because that was when everybody was like talking about all these things that were going on, and by the end of that year we were all going to be in camps, and there were just all kinds of people. Like Kansas, where I'm at, has a lot of people who kind of like,
Preppers,
what's that?
preppers,
But I'm sorry.
doomsday preppers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, sorry. It was like kind of garbled for some reason. But yeah, man, I mean, a lot of people of that persuasion here, and that just, I was like, wow, like it even kind of had me wondering, like, are we really about to see some stuff go down, like all the ammo, like you would hear like there was no ammo left at like Walmart every Thursday or whatever, all the stuff would come in on the truck and it was getting bought up like that. And I
Oh,
was just
same
like,
here.
yeah, I'm like, what's happening here? But all that stuff, I guess it kind of like, it just kind of plays with like into our aesthetic, like as a band anyway. Like, our first record, Mechanism, definitely was kind of about like, um, Andy, the other guy, had this like crazy like backstory kind of like universe dreamed up, and it was all like, machines kind of coming alongside man to assist them, um, and kind of like the transhumanism type thing. Like we'd begun to like evolve into like this joint deal. But like, yeah, it's interesting seeing all this like stuff happen in real life that you feel like it could go there, not necessarily with like machines, but more like the whole dystopian vibe. Like it feels like real, like,
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
yeah,
I totally get where you're coming from with that. It we live in scary times
I think
for
so.
any number of reasons.
Yeah, I agree. um I'm just the way it's, how much it's changed in the last 20 years is just insane. Like shoot, man, like I'm even like scared, like, I get like paranoid, like, just even thinking about like what I would say about like the way I think things are right now, like just on a video that's going to go on YouTube, man. Maybe that's just my OCD, like, blah blah blah.
No,
But
no. The world is at a point where a person actually has to be concerned with such things. It's
yeah,
we've gone that far.
yeah,
That's the thing.
yeah,
It's gone beyond the pale.
it's
No one
creepy.
ever expected it to get this far, and it did.
I think that the same people that would say we're guilty of American exceptionalism, how some people would say like we kind of had that whole deal in the 2000s where we pissed everybody off as a country, because after the 80s and 90s we just prospered so well, we just thought we were the coolest country on the earth, or at least that's the way it was painted, for a while after the early 2000s. like the very people who would say that we're guilty of like this feeling of American exceptionalism seem to be the same ones that they don't think it's possible for things in our country to go south into like a tyrannical kind of scenario. You know what I'm getting at? Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, it can always get worse.
Yeah. And to me that's its own kind of exceptionalism right there, thinking that our society is beyond that. You know what I mean? Uh, yeah,
We've
it's
got a lot farther to fall to get there,
yeah,
but no, I
it's
mean, when you look at vile people like George Soros that are working to actively undermine democracies the world over, I mean, and the thing about it is, George Soros takes marching orders from people whose names we'll never know.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. I know what you mean. I know
And,
what you mean.
you know, you have people like this, and he's got billions and billions. And, you know, he does things that patently don't make sense for a person that wants to maintain their position and wealth. They only make sense as if you're trying to be some sort of oligarch, like you want to own the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there can be little other explanation for some of the activities of some of these power brokers and vile people that seem to try and
Really,
run the world or want to.
it's really weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. I'm just like, look at, I know I've heard that name before, and
Oh
I'm just,
yeah. He's a vile dude. Like people like him let stuff like Venezuela happen.
mm-hmm.
And if you're not familiar with Venezuela, they recently had to order 3 plane loads of bills because they're running out of bills since their hundreds are like pennies now.
Yeah, that's not going to help the value of their their currency at all. But
Oh,
yeah,
their
that's
currency's been utterly and completely depreciated in value. I mean, they've got it is worse in Venezuela now than at the worst times behind the Iron Curtain in Soviet Russia.
and
I,
what's
I shit you not, there are bread lines
yeah,
in
yeah,
Venezuela today.
yeah, and like I know very little about. I know that they had Hugo Chavez for a long time, and then he died, and I mean they definitely like have a communist kind of government, right? I mean, if I'm not mistaken.
Not exactly. They're like legit socialists. They're like the
Oh,
socialists that the people here in the states try to push. Like we've got every social program. We've taken the money from the rich people. We've
yeah,
redistributed it. All the rich people's land that they weren't currently using has been either separated out by the state or given to the state. And
yeah.
then from that, you know, we've got all these oil reserves. So we're going to set up lots of social programs that everybody's taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And well, they didn't divest their income sources and they did nothing basically. It's like it's always going to be sunny and pretty and wonderful and
Mm.
nothing is ever going to happen, and that was the no.
Well,
That's kind of how the Weimar Republic happened, and that ended very poorly.
that did end
Twice.
very yeah, yeah. Oh man, World War One and World War Two are so fascinating. And
Remember, kids, buy Battlefield 1. It's coming out soon.
you know, now that I think of it, man, the other day, and I
With
didn't
dubstep
realize
DLC.
what's that?
With dubstep
Oh,
DLC.
DLC. The other day, the was the 100-year anniversary of Sykes-Picot.
Hmm.
The and and this is a very poor explanation of it, but it's one of the agreements that happened um, during World War One. It kind of split, it defined the borders in some of the countries in the Middle East,
Mm-hmm.
and like to this day, I mean, half you know, a lot of people think like ISIS, comes just from our invasion of Iraq in 2003 or whatever. But I mean, even if you talk to, like, Vice did a documentary where they went behind the lines with ISIS or whatever, and whatever about Vice. I mean, but like the guys in ISIS that they were interviewing were talking about, no, this goes back to Sykes-Picot. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. The way that, and having been in Africa myself, you just think to yourself, what would it even look like over there if it wasn't for, like, like all the colonization and stuff that had happened. And yeah, it's crazy how those things continue to have repercussions today. I mean,
Oh, Africa is an interesting experiment in
yeah,
things. It
yeah,
is it's really something else. And oh man, there's a dam I think in Zimbabwe. It's about to
hmm,
go. I
really,
mean, oh yeah, it's going to be horrifying when it happens. I mean, it's going to be like, imagine if the Hoover Dam went.
oh yeah, that would be
Yeah,
awful.
it's on par with that.
That's
Except
crazy.
you know how how densely packed African tribal villages can get and all that. So they're not going to have the infrastructure to deal with that when it happens. A lot of people are going to die. It's going to be like Haiti, except it's going to be inland.
It's awful, man.
It is.
That's it's terrible. Yeah.
I uh I don't care what anyone ever says. Robert Mugabe is a villain and a demon and has been nothing but bad for this world.
That's the yeah. I heard about that. Like, like, when, I remember when they took land from, like, the farmers, like the white farmers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, no, I mean,
And now he's asking
yeah,
them to come back.
yeah,
Actually.
yeah, yeah. I heard that too. I'm not as familiar with like Zimbabwe as I am, like, where I've spent more time, like Kenya, Uganda, and Sudan.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I was in a Sudan's in really bad shit. Southern
Oh
Sudan has
yeah.
been really bad shape, and I was in the capital city in May of 2014, and I was in a UN refugee camp, um, and basically this tribe of people called the Nuer. There's two main tribes. Well, there's tons of tribes in South Sudan, but the two the two biggest tribes are the Dinka and the Nuer. And the way it was explained to me, and I don't know if this is entirely correct, but like colonialism, divide and conquer. It's kind of like the Hutu and the Tutsis, in Rwanda. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you can't tell them apart. Like, even their scarring looks similar. The two tribes, um, and this was a new era camp, and they had fled violence that had broke out because they've been in a civil war, had been in a civil war at the time. It's still really bad.
Oh yeah.
um, but like, we talked to people that basically were like saying in their own little area, you know people from the other side were going around door to door, and because you can't tell them apart, they look so similar. It's not like the Hutu and Tutsis where people commonly thought like the Hutu were like shorter and the Tutsis were like taller and had other like features that you could like easily tell them apart. Dinka
As
and Nuer look
well
very
as ridiculous as this is, it's the Ukes and the Zooks, you know, and the star-bellied
similar.
Sneeches.
What's that?
The star-bellied Sneeches.
It's Dr. Seuss, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Uh,
you couldn't tell them apart other than that one had one star and the other had
one
two.
had a star. Yeah. I mean, I you know, and I mean, we even greeted them like we're used to hanging out with Dinkas, and we saw these guys, we thought they were Dinkas, and we greeted them. And I mean, their scar is very, they all have different scarring that you can tell like what like tribe they're from, what clan they're from, and it looked very
Yeah,
similar, even like some of the Dinkas that we were used to seeing. And we greeted them, and they're like, "Why are you using that old greeting?" And like that even shows it, like they have a almost a very similar language. And we found out really quick, we're like, these guys are new air, man. We didn't realize it, but man, they had to flee because people were going door to door and asking. They would say basically, speak. They would go to their house and with guns, and they would say speak. And if
purges.
they didn't, What's that? Yeah, if they didn't like, if they thought they spoke and that they spoke with the wrong kind of accent, pop, done. Um, Met a
That's
woman who had
horrible.
given, it is horrible, man, and I mean, it was just heartbreaking.
I mean, that's as bad as what happened in China in their cultural revolution.
Yeah, yeah, and that I'm not as familiar with, but
This you're telling the story of it right now. The
oh
story
yeah,
just repeats itself.
it does, man, it does, and like I know there's people out there who like they want to that they see these same issues too, and they want to fix it, you know what I mean, but their way of fixing it is just going to make history repeat itself again, you know what I mean. That's the way I
Well,
feel like.
well, that's exactly right. And the thing about it is, some of these people are going to drive first world nations into these positions, and that is that's horrible. That should not
Yeah,
ever be a thing that could occur. But
yeah,
as opposed to taking on these villains, these demons, where they sit, where they reside, actually trying to solve the problems.
yeah.
You've got people that are doing nothing. Justin Trudeau, what were his words? If you kill them, you've done what they want. If
No,
your
I don't think
enemy
so.
is dead, I'd say your enemy is dead and you've made the world a better place, provided you're not doing the wrong thing by decimating such a vile villain. If you can call a villain, then at least you're taking a step in the right direction, I guess.
Sure, sure.
I mean, if like look at ISIS. We have legitimately cartoonish supervillainy. Like
Hmm. Awful.
like the worst shit the Nazis did. And they
Hmm.
do it every day.
They do, man, they
At
do.
least the Nazis weren't blowing up historical fucking artifacts. They were just genociding a bunch of people. Whereas, ISIS is genociding people, uh, pimping out children and blowing up historical
Killing little
UNESCO
babies,
sites because they're
crucifying people, literally crucifying people.
yes,
I,
burning fucking people alive in cages.
I had to watch that, man. I had to watch that pilot that they captured, man. Like, we have a song called Tel Aviv on that new record it's talking about this exact same thing, man. Just like watching it from afar and just like you have this like it's like you can't turn away, you know what I mean? But you're safe, and
It's a
just
car
that, just the
wreck.
feeling.
It's a car wreck on the other side of the interstate,
It is, man. And
and
it's
you got to look. You can't not look.
yeah, yeah. I mean, ugh, yeah. And isn't it creepy their mastery of like social media and like the slick like production that they do, man? Like, the film they do that they put out, like it's so disturbing, man.
It is. It is that, and it raises questions as to how such a group can have such high levels of acumen. But
Oh,
well, those lead down other rabbit holes that people just don't want to go down. Ugly
yeah,
questions with ugly answers.
yeah.
Well, we're drawing up on the line when the software likes to get wacky on me here.
Oh yeah, okay. Cool, man.
So, would you be interested in a further interview? This has gone pretty well. We could have
I would
another
be
segment
totally
on here.
down for that, man. I would be totally down. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we got about 2.5 minutes before I know it'll get weird. So if you want to
Uh-huh.
plug some shit, man. Go for it.
BeInMyShadow.rocks is our website. Twitter, we're at Omega Hi-Fi, OMEGAHIFI. Basically, that's me tweeting. On Facebook, we're Facebook.com/Me and My Shadow Band. Andy maintains that. Yeah, I mean, Evan will tell you here, we just like talking to people and just kind of having a good time. We're not about trying to like be like, buy our stuff, check out our music. It's more just about meeting people and seeing what happens. So yeah, I've enjoyed the heck out of this. I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, gladly, gladly. I'm more than happy to have you on. If nothing else, I just like to, be a little part of the musical community. And hey,
Yeah,
it's good to have a discussion, and get real people on here talking about real stuff and not just, hey, what you selling? You got a new
Yeah,
book?
yeah, totally, man, totally. Yeah, I figured that's the way it would go too, man. I knew we were gonna get into some interesting stuff. So yeah, I'll do it again anytime, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I like to. I mean, if I'm going to do an interview, I want to do something interesting. You know, if you want to hear about somebody and their music, you can listen to my show. I'll play some of it. But
Sure.
if you want to hear about somebody, I'm gonna get to the core of somebody if I can pull it off.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Right on. Well, take it easy.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure, sir. And so we'll be